Of course, it's the Mets. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Philly Sports Now, a Philly fan podcast. My name is Zach. Andrew is not here right now, but he will be later when we talk about the Eagles. I am inserting a quick segment here regarding the upcoming NLDS series, which has been decided since our recording of the podcast. All this is going to be going up today, Friday, October 4th. However, I just wanted to get a quick thing in regarding the NLDS. Oliver and Luna sitting in the background. You might hear them fight. I don't know what's going on with those cats. Anyway, the Mets have beat the Brewers in the wild card, causing them to now be who the Phillies take on in the NLDS. Now, it is a crazy NLDS and even ALDS situation, but specifically you have the Phillies taking on the Mets, neighborhoods, and then you have the Dodgers taking on the Padres, which is West Coast neighborhoods. It's a crazy, scripted, you couldn't have made it sound better storybook MLB postseason. However, it is a little bit on the scary side as a Phillies fan just because of how hot the Mets are. However, they don't look great, and I think that's what we need to think about going into this series, and it's the fact that the Phillies are the better team. Now, the last time we said that was which was the NLCS with the Phillies losing to the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Arizona Diamondbacks were a scrappy underdog team, and they won. It's not impossible that the Mets could pull this off. However, I think the Phillies come out and they just demolish the Mets. And there's a couple of reasons why. I have a hard time believing that Mets fans take over the bank. I think Phillies fans have ran Red October for a reason. In any national radio or television, they always talk about the Citizens Bank Park postseason crowd, and I've witnessed it. It's a fantastic thing. Easily the best crowd I've been a part of, including Penn State whiteout games, including Eagles games at Link. It's there's just nothing close to a Red October moment in the bank. And that being said, I think the fans do show up. As Nick put it, talking to him, the reason the Knicks fans showed up against the Sixers is because no one cared about the Sixers. Let's just be honest. No one expected the Sixers to go on a run last season, and they didn't. They went out in the first round. Andrew also pointed out that a reason Knicks fans took that over as well is because of the Villanova crowd in the Knicks, right? So you have layover. You have a layover situation in fan bases there, unfortunately, due to the Villanova basketball teams. Now, the Phillies are just their own monster, especially when it comes to us as Phillies fans. Now, the Phillies as a team, the greatest thing you could say is Zach Wheeler pitching tomorrow, Saturday, at 4 o'clock. And it's huge. You win game one, you're going to win the series. It's a 9 times out of 10 situation. It's more than likely. It sets the entire series. And with the Mets being as fast and as hot and as loud as they are right now, the absolute thing to shut them down is literally winning the first game against them, stopping them, making them pump the brakes, and making them think their strategy all over again. Because if you go and you lose, especially with Wheeler, which I'll get to that in a second, but if you lose game one, if you lose either of those games really, but if you lose game one, the Mets run the table, and you can't let that happen in the series. They can absolutely win. We saw them win the last series, the last 4-game series in New York. Yes, it was in New York. Yes, I believe Taijuan Walker pitched one of those games. He pitched a lot of the losses against the Mets this year. However, you have to those losses essentially contribute to the Mets even being here in the postseason. So you can't let that run the situation again. You can't lose game one. You just can't. And talking about Zach Wheeler has to come in this with the revenge factor, right? He's coming from the New York Mets, a team that didn't want him. I saw an article today, a team that made him buy his own tickets when he was injured on the Mets. Look, the Phillies fans hate the Mets and the Mets fans, but Wheeler, the person pitching game one, actually has a personal vendetta against this team. This is his former team, and he went on to be a Cy Young candidate. Maybe not a winner, but a Cy Young candidate. And that's huge. So we absolutely need to run with that momentum of Wheeler's revenge factor, with the fans hating on the Mets. It's all this needs to come together to absolutely get game one in this series. If you lose game two, I'm upset, but I'm not mad, I guess. I guess I'm disappointed kind of a thing. But if you lose game one, I'm scared. Like, that's how that handles. So go win game one, realistically sweep them at home, and then steal one at New York. Because just fuck those guys. That's all it comes down to. I can't wait for this series. I am wearing this shirt because I'm manifesting going back to the NLCS. We'll talk about winning that at a whole nother time. Let's get there first. And I'm just so excited. This team is so good, and between watching them all summer long, which I have seen more Phillies games this year than ever before, hands down. Like, just watching them again and again on TV, and finally being in October, where we have our Red October. We're here and we're ready, and I am so excited. I can't wait for tomorrow, and I just hope we get a win. I say Phillies in 4. I think it's realistic the Mets are going to pull one out somewhere. A lot of people saying Phillies in 5. I can't stress it enough. It's going to be a tough series. So trying to stay calm, trying to keep your thoughts collected here and there. But realistically, the Phillies should win this. It's absolutely stopping this momentum train that is the New York Mets. And it's kind of a monster, like I said, that we as the Phillies fans, the Phillies have created by letting them in at all. So here's hoping that the Phillies pull this off. I think it's realistic. Crazy the Phillies haven't met the Mets in the postseason before. And again, I know I said it at the top of this, but it's just awesome having a Phillies-Mets postseason matchup. Like, it really is. I hate the Mets. I hate Mets fans. I hate my rival teams or whatever. Hate Dallas, hate Giants, all that stuff. To have that in the playoffs, it's so much more tangible, having that putrid hate just manifest in a way that you just want to see your team win so badly, because you can rub it in everyone else's face. Now, that being said, if the Phillies lose, it comes right back around. So let's hope for a Phillies win. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Going to be talking about Eagles now with Andrew in the rest of this video. So thank you again, and keep watching.
The Eagles are 2-2 going into a bye, and it is, as every single media person saying it, comes at a great time. And I'm here to tell you, not a single person, including us, knows what this Eagles team needs. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Philly Sports Now, a Philly fan podcast. My name is Zach. With me is Andrew, and we're back to talk all things Philly sports. Now, this is a bad time to be an Eagles fan. This is a bad time. I'm coming off of this. Andrew and I have been texting, but we haven't really talked about the Eagles game, even in our pre-warm-up stuff. This was a bad loss. This was a really bad loss. I don't think anyone is happy, to say the least. I don't think either of us are on firing squads. I know all of Philly wants Nick Sirianni out. Just out. And I personally, while I don't think he's doing anything exceptional right now, I don't think firing him is the solution. And I'm sure we'll get into that. But I just this team has so many issues, and I don't think it starts and ends with Nick Sirianni, which everyone is convinced is the case. And I just don't agree with that. And I'm not defending Nick. I don't think he's doing anything well enough to, I'll say, warrant defense. But I don't think he's the issue. And that's the thing that people don't seem to understand, is this team just is bad, dude. It's just so bad, top to bottom. I mean, Hurts, it's so funny. Dad just sent us stats about Hurts that lines him up with Patrick Mahomes in the first 4 games. And it's really, really frustrating to see that, because in my opinion, Hurts is my number one problem. He just continues to look like he cannot make game time decisions. And I think he has essentially too much control, and it's not going well. Now, that being said, he has these stats that make him, Patrick Mahomes, I don't think has looked great, but he's also 4-0. But they just are so comparable from their QB rating to their completion percentage, and it's insane. And I, I, Hurts a big issue, especially with this game. The decision making in which he takes too long, and then he fumbles the ball. He had 2 fumbles on Sunday. He had six sacks. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah.
It's bad, and like the O line looked bad. Don't get me wrong, but 6 sacks isn't on the O line. 6 sacks is you're holding onto the ball too long, and your O line can't keep up with you. I Again, I'm going to send this to Andrew to start talking pretty quickly because I'm past my angry point. I'm at a disappointed point, and my truth is, I just don't see an up. I think we are quite literally a 500 team. I think we go into the bye 2-2, and I could see us coming out of this season at, I mean, what is that? 9-7 or 8.
9-8 or 8-9,
Yeah,
depending.
like that's what I see us as. I don't see us as a deep threat. I don't see us as a horrible team that's going to get 4 wins. I exaggerated yesterday and said we're going to get 6, but I truly I think we're going to get like 9 wins, maybe be shy of 10, and I think we're nothing. I think we're going to be a first round exit just like last year, and it's certainly an overreaction because we're only on week 4, but at the same time we're past the rust phase, dude. Like you can't come and tell me this team's still getting acquainted, this team's getting ready, blah blah blah. And it's like I'm not saying you're going to say this stuff, but maybe you are. I don't know. But it's just it's this team doesn't have.
Identity.
I hate to use other people's words, but Gargano, man, this team doesn't have an identity. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're trying to do. They don't know whether they need to pass the ball. They don't know whether they need to run the ball. They don't know what kind of defense to play. Hence the absolutely horrendous defense against Tampa Bay. And I'm not even on Tampa Bay yet. We'll probably get into that. But it's so bad. It's just overall so bad. And at the end of the day, I just have no faith in any of this changing. Every like I said at the start, everyone keeps saying, "Oh, the bye comes at a great time. Bye comes at a great time. They're gonna freshen up. They're gonna get their break. They're gonna blah blah blah." And I disagree. I don't. I'm not disagreeing. The bye comes at a good time. I'm just saying I don't think it matters. I think we come out of the bye. I know it's a home game. I forget who we play. I'll look it up later.
Browns.
But like, who is it?
Browns.
Which should be a win, right? A home game at like against Browns, who are terrible right now. Like that should be a win. I don't know, dude. I don't know. I just don't know. Um, I had something else. I can't think of it right now. But all in all, it just sucks. It just sucks that this team is so stacked, and maybe it's just a waiting game for them to develop. And next year is the year. Maybe it's technically like a build year. I don't know, but like this team isn't going anywhere, and that's just how I can't unsee this. And this game was terrible. I also at some point need you to talk about Brady as a commentator because I had the game muted. So ironically, I didn't hear the well-awaited Brady game that we had.
Well, I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't either.
That's so great.
I watched the first part at my house and then went to my buddy's. He was having some people over and he always has a couple screens. So yeah, his family was in town, so I kind of went over there. He had some people over, so I went and watched it there and he didn't have any sound on. So
There you
but
go. All right. Well,
so I'm sure we'll get another one.
we'll have another. Yeah, we'll talk about him another time.
Before that, I'm hearing it wasn't great.
That's what I know. He was.
But again, I think we talked about this before. I gotta give the guy a benefit. I mean, it's his first time ever doing this stuff, so it's gonna take him a little bit.
Yeah, but also like Brady commentating like against the Eagles for the Bucks.
Yeah,
like,
it wasn't the right. It wasn't the
just,
right game with the team.
No,
that's I wish they'd make that. I mean, it's tough to make that a rule, but
right.
I wish
Like
they tried to avoid that.
It's not like there's a legality issue. Tom Brady commentating the game doesn't affect the outcome, But as a fan, like the last thing I want to hear is an ex Bucks player commentate on a Bucks Eagles game. Yeah, no, Andrew, I guess so. So ignoring that because that's funny. That's just a good joke to break everything. But yeah, dude. I mean, I guess just where are you right now? Because like I said, I am just very lost. I just don't think anything changes.
Well, in terms of, I'll touch on the buy part first. I think more than anything, it comes at a great time because you have to get healthy. Um, and
Which,
I
all
don't,
right, before
I
you get into it, I will say, I didn't talk about Brown and Devontae Smith. I will bring that into conversation later. I think that was something I meant to talk about and didn't, but go ahead.
yeah, I think more than anything is the health because you look at this team and we talked about coming into the year. I mean, nobody thought this team was going to be a top three defense in the league, right? We always said, this team's going to run through the offense. And with that being said, honestly, I think the biggest person they missed more than anything, like we could talk about AJ and Devontae, but it's Lane Johnson. I mean, Fred Johnson obviously stepped in mid game and did fine, but he just wasn't the answer there. And you saw that with the pressures and the sacks he gave up. So I think that's the biggest thing is getting Lane Johnson healthy. I know he was close, but failed the concussion protocol stuff, so he couldn't. So I fully expect him back in 2 weeks. But I mean, you can just look up the numbers. The Eagles with Lane Johnson and without with him, the Eagles are 84, 47, and 1 since he started. And without there, he's 13 and 23. So I mean, I think that screams volumes of how much they missed him and everything. I think that in terms of the relationships with everybody, I mean, I don't buy into that. Like, in all honesty, when I keep hearing that with the buys, oh, it's the perfect time for this team to regroup and stuff like that. Well, if we really want to get picky, you had a 3 month buy or whatever it is, 5 month, whatever the off season is, to regroup. What? To regroup.
Andrew just coming out of nowhere with the slander of the day.
Well, I mean, let's be real. That's what everyone keeps saying is
Yeah.
this buy, you're going to regroup, and if there is any issues in the locker room, it's going to fix everything. You have 2 weeks to kind of regroup and figure things out. Well, I mean, I think you, Nick, or somebody put in the group chat they're 3-10 in the last 13 games. So again, I mean, you had a first round buy or first round exit last year, in January. So you've had, I mean, 8 months to quote unquote regroup and figure out the quote unquote locker room stuff is there. And
And
I
you
know,
just got beat by the same team. The
yeah,
same team with the same plan.
Baker Mayfield's got our number. I mean, that guy, he looks like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning every time he plays us. And unfortunately, I've been watching that guy beat my teams for 6 years now. He went to OU and he beat OSU every year I was there. So I can't get away from this guy. Um, but no, I think that's my biggest thing is this team needs to get healthy more than anything. Lane Johnson. I don't know if the Eagles were afraid. Well, I mean, I think they went down 24-0 and it changed the whole game plan because you couldn't really run the ball because you're playing catch up the whole time. So you had to move quick. If it's 14-0, that's different. You can still use your game plan. But when you go down 3 to 4 possessions, depending on how you look at it, then you do kind of have to go away from what the plan was.
Yeah.
And to your point, I'm not on a coaching change. I think in football, it's a lot harder to do than other sports. I've seen that comparison, in 2022 when the Phillies fired Joe Girardi and Rob Thompson came in here, and obviously you went to the World Series. I think it's a little different. Obviously, baseball. I mean, yeah, you still have quote unquote plays and signs and stuff, but in reality, baseball, it's more of an individual thing. Everybody's got to go out there and bat and pitch exceptionally well. In football, you have so many plays and so many different schemes to go through. I don't think it solves anything. I mean, look at what happened last year when you changed defensive coordinators. It got worse.
Yeah.
So doing that midseason doesn't do anything for me. Ride it out. I mean, if this team's got plenty of talent, so I mean, I think this team will still be a playoff team. Um, with the Hurts turnovers, I think your identity has to be run the ball. I mean, the question is,
I can't get over it, dude. What is with him? Like he just he it's so reminiscent of
are you talking?
wins.
I was say you're talking Hurts or you talking Sirianni? Sorry.
Hurts. Like again, I'm not sitting here saying he's a bad quarterback because the stats are very defensive of him being a good quarterback. The stats here say, "Oh, he knows what he's doing," but he doesn't. Man, he holds on to the ball too long. He fumbles. He interceptions. Like to hear Dallas fans make fun of us after the absolute like travesty that was Dak Prescott's interception career. Like it's insane how bad Hurts is now comparable to them. And
Yeah, but here's to
I
cut you
just
off.
I don't know what like again this is my whole thing today is I don't know what changes. I really don't. I don't even think like the thing right now that Philly fans and media probably are all doing, and I refuse to listen to WIP and the Fanatic because they can go fuck themselves. But the thing everyone's doing is fire
Talk about
Sirianni
slander.
and hire Bill Belichick. That's absolutely right. Absolutely right. Slander all day for those dog shit radio stations. But I don't like. I honestly don't think bringing in Bill Belichick just magically fixes Hurts. I think more than likely he would need to develop him over a I don't know 2 to 3 year time, which we're still on a like very short timetable between Sirianni and Hurts. And then on top of that, like I, I just don't. Again, I don't think Belichick magically changes things. I don't think anyone magically changes things. I think Hurts has to make changes, and he's not going to because that's who he is.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with that is I don't know if you can fix the stuff he's doing. Like if it's gonna be somebody, it's gonna have to be him. I mean, what's Bill Belichick gonna do to get him to hold on to the ball more? I can not fumble
Exactly.
the ball. I mean, it's the only thing you can fix maybe is quicker play calling, so have him get rid of the ball quicker. And I don't know if the different receivers has caused that. You know, last week not having a true one or two, but you gotta get past that. I mean, you had one game, you just had to keep them in the game. And one thing I want to touch on the numbers. You know, you mentioned, and I get a chance to respond to that picture, but you got to remember too, is Mahomes has put up those numbers to get the lead, right, and win games. How much of that hurts numbers? I mean, let's just throw last week, for example, right? You go down 24-0, he's forced to throw the ball almost every play. So of course his numbers are going to be skewed with higher passing yards and stuff like that. The biggest numbers, you're not seeing is, and I think that goes to show that quote unquote, trailing yards or whatever you want to call it, right? Is touchdowns, right? Because I mean,
Yeah.
like no touchdowns, I mean, no, and sorry, no touchdowns and the interceptions are two, or not even interceptions. It's more the fumbles, honestly. Um, but I think that's the biggest thing with this team right now is offensively is you have to figure out the turnover issue. You're losing too many possessions. And that goes with defense too. Is that it's one thing I was going to talk about them is my biggest thing with them is they're not creating turnovers. So I think that's where the Eagles need to figure it out. I think their turnover differential is like -7 right now, and that's got to be cleaned up.
I mean, if you would talk about minus, I mean, we ended the first quarter with -3 yards total.
Yeah.
Like that was insane. I mean, again, this game was just so fundamentally bad, and it's crazy we can't be one-sided here because you get mad at the defense for letting Baker Mayfield just run all over you, but at the same time, every time the offense got the ball, they went 3 and out. Every time.
Yeah, especially to start the game. It was three straight 3-and-outs, and then blink of an eye, you're down 14-0. I mean, and then you have the special teams when your guys are running into each other, creating fumbles and muff fumbles and stuff. I mean, it was a disaster all around. And then you finally gained some life, and the defense couldn't get off the field. I think it was a 3rd and 9, and then a 3rd and 13, where you get that stop, you're right back in it, and you just couldn't do it. That's why you can't go down 3 possessions in the blink of an eye like that. But my thing too with this team is the starts, and I don't know if that starts with the players or Kellen Moore, but I read it. I don't know if you saw this one. Eagles don't have 1 point in the first quarter.
What? That can't be true. Uh, uh, it would take me too long to confirm that. That's insane.
Um, I'll see if I can find it real quick, but unless I
No, I
miss,
believe you. I believe you. That's the thing, dude. Like, okay, so at the end of last season, I thought it was very unfair that everyone was like, "Oh, the Eagles are 5-1 or whatever." Like the talking about the collapse, right? Like the Eagles, sorry, not 5-1, 1-5. Like the Eagles' collapse was just absolutely unmet in any capacity in the fact that they went just and lost every single game except for that one barely win over the Giants, right? And I remember at the end of the last year, and then you all, of course, have lost against Tampa in the playoffs. And I remember at the end of last year thinking, okay, this was bad, right? This is bad, but I don't think this is as bad as people are making it out to be. I said, okay, something happened. They changed their coordinators. They're getting new players. There will be an 8-month off season. We'll see what happens. But this start, again, this 500 start, this absolutely 2-2, the most 2-2 of all time. And it's just like, there's nothing good here. There's nothing terrible here, but it's just not good. And we're definitely spoiled in the sense that like we're used to NFC championships, we're used to the Super Bowl, even Super Bowl 57, right? Like we're definitely in the spoiled mentality of we expect greatness. But at the same time, when your coach, your quarterback, your receivers, everyone's getting elite money, and I'm talking millions of dollars we're never going to see in our lifetime, like yeah, I think we have a right to be upset. I don't think it's I don't know. I don't think you can fire anyone to change anything. But then you have players like fucking Slay, dude. I've loved Slay. I've always loved Slay. Shut the fuck up, bro. On Twitter, tweeting out his resume, why he's such a great guy. Oh, I'm so great. Oh, look at me. I'm a 7-time all pro player. It's like, dude, I get it. History books are great. But at the same time, like, what the fuck's going on? Like, what's happening now? Like, that's all we're about, dude. We're all about trying to get that new norm. We're all about trying to figure things out. And to your point earlier, and I know I'm a little derailed today. I'm sorry I don't have my normal organization, probably because I just don't know where to focus on this team. But like to your point earlier about other Philadelphia teams and their managers, right, and their coaching staff, and if I've learned anything over the past 4 years in Philadelphia as fans, the managers they don't do as much as we're trying to blame them. Between, as you pointed out, Rob Thompson coming in and just we went to the World Series. Like, don't get me wrong, kicking out that guy made a difference, but like, you're gonna tell me Topper really changed all that much? The first thing people were doing was complaining about his rotations. And then you have Doc getting replaced with Nick Nurse. Sorry to tell you guys, last year kind of sucked, and I don't see this year being much different. I I just don't think the manager, the coach, is gonna change it. You can go and fire Nick Sirianni. I don't give a shit. I just don't think it changes. I don't think we're going to go magically win out the season if you fire Sirianni during the bye. I don't think if Bill Belichick's magically hired next offseason, we're going to go to the Super Bowl the
well,
next year.
and that's the problem with this one is there's a guy like Bill Belichick available.
And
Let's just say Bill Belichick's Seahawks, right? I'm just gonna throw out a random
right.
team, right? I mean, are people still calling for Nick Sirianni? Obviously, right? I mean, that's not going away. But it's not as bad because it's you don't have a guy like Bill Belichick there to just go out pick up.
It's the fact he's available. Correct.
There's two things, and I'll say this: it's one that is available, and two, I think fans are really scared because of Bill Belichick's name. Is the Cowboys are going to fail again this year, and they're going to end up with Bill Belichick, and
Which
we also want to prevent Belichick from going to Dallas. I think that right there is what's escalating
the ultimate Philly defense. Fire our coach just so we can steal.
I mean, let's be real.
Like
Like everyone, Mike McCarthy's talked about the same way Sirianni is. I mean, they're two guys that keep making the playoffs and have winning records, but everyone's scared of that If Belichick ends up with a rival, how's that going to turn things?
I actually think Mike McCarthy's on the hot seat worse than Sirianni is. I mean,
I'd say it's equal. I'd say it's equal. I think
I
if both don't get past the first round, I think they're both gone. If
yeah,
both miss the playoffs, they're both gone. Like I think it's basically equal
it's
leverage.
yeah, I don't know, man. I don't
But
know.
I mean,
And
hell,
we didn't. So the other thing
talk
I was
about
going to
right
talk about.
now is
Oh, sorry.
well,
But
you might be saying it now, so I'll let you go first.
no. What? I don't think I am. I was going to jump to a different thing entirely.
I would say, I mean, speaking about all these teams in the division, I mean, the start Washington has right now is, I mean, their rookie quarterback and McDaniel has been unreal. I don't think anybody picked them to be 3-1 right now,
It's insane. Dude,
leading the
if the
division.
Commanders go and win the division, like that's insane. I don't think anyone saw that coming.
No, and that's one thing I written down too. I mean, I'm not making any, I'm not trying to make any excuses for the Eagles, but I actually went and looked, and it could obviously change with tonight's games depending on tiebreaker, quote unquote tiebreaker scenarios. But right now, if the season ended today, and I get it's only 4 weeks, a quarter into the year, but the these are all playoff teams I think we all would have picked to make the playoffs this year in the NFC. If the season ended today, Eagles, 49ers, Packers, Cowboys, and Rams all don't have playoff spots. I just thought that was really weird to look at.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's crazy. And dude, but that's the thing, right? The Ravens just come off a huge win against the Bills, right? They're still 2-2, right?
Yep.
But that's see, this is the thing that's driving me nuts right now that I don't think anyone's talking about as far as I know. And it's the fact that like there are 2-2 teams like the Ravens where it's like, oh, they could make a run. Like they are good. They had a slow start. They could make a run. And then there's 2-2 teams like Eagles. And we're sitting here like, I don't think they're going to go anywhere because there's such a strange difference between those 2-2s, even though it's the exact same record. There's such a difference between how they come off
Well,
looking.
I'll say this in that standpoint is it all depends on your last game, right? Ravens started the year 0-2, and everyone's freaking out the same thing. Like, what's going on with the Ravens? Lamar Jackson coming off the MVP season. What's going on with him? Blah, 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 and all that talk. Where now, they look good for a game against the Bills. They beat the Cowboys on the road in Dallas. So now the Ravens are that Super Bowl winning team again. But, when they lost to a bad Raiders team two Sundays ago, it wasn't oh look how good the Ravens are. So I think that's the only difference with that. I mean let's be real, right? Eagles come out of the bye week and let's say we win by I don't know 20-22, right? We're gonna have a lot of different talk and around the media is man, look how good the Eagles looked after the bye. They fixed everything, they regrouped, just like everyone was talking about going into it.
Yeah.
So I think that part in terms of how good you look is all recency biased.
Sure, you got a good point, and I don't disagree. And but your point, while solid, is also kind of a two-edged sword because you're right. The Eagles can't just win against the Browns; they have to smash them. They have to absolutely obliterate them. And do you think they're going to do that?
I mean, they could. I mean, that Browns team's bad. I mean,
Yeah, but Andrew, what has shown you that the Eagles are going to go out there and win by 14 points? Nothing.
no, but my point is too like, no, I'm different because I don't need to see a 20-point win.
See, but
Just give me a win.
I do
You got to
because
start with baby steps. You're not going to go fix everything in one game.
but it's so your recency bias comment is so correct because the Saints win was huge. We just saw them demolish the Cowboys, and then we beat them, and it was
Yeah, but
insane.
the reason why this is different too, everyone freaking out, is because the way they lost, right? When we
And
went into
it
the
was hard.
when we went into the Saints game, I think we both said find a way to get into the bye 2-2. Well, the Eagles did that, right? If the Eagles lost 33-30, we're having a different conversation.
Yeah. I mean, you said it. I totally I posted the podcast late, but I'm pretty sure I said it on the podcast. I expected the Eagles to lose against the Bucks. I
Yeah,
just did not expect just a absolute spanking that they got.
yeah, and I think let's look at the schedule. You need to. I know it's tough to win on the road, but it'd be really nice to come away with two wins to come off the bye. You're home against the Browns. That needs to be a win. And
Needs
then
to.
the
Right.
Giants aren't great. You can go find a way to win that. You're 4-2. Cincinnati will be tough, but I mean, we'll see. But obviously, he's got to go 1 week at a time. But I think the biggest thing is off a bye. You need to win that one. I think that's the one you really need, and that's the one you
But
expect.
see, okay, just looking ahead. First of all, I agree with everything you just said. But looking ahead, like I'm gonna stop at Cowboys because that's just a monster in its own. The next 4 games: Browns, Giants, Bengals, Jaguars. I'm sitting here saying go 2-2 again. Again, go 2-2, and that puts us where? That puts us at
3-1.
6-6.
You need to go 3-1.
We need to, but I don't think that's gonna happen. Wait, 2-2 plus 2-2 is 4-4. Nah.
Well, my thing is it combined, right? Those 4 games, right? Combined, those teams have 3 wins.
Yeah, but I'm gonna be honest, dude. I'm gonna be honest. I I think a loss against the Bengals is to be expected in Cincinnati.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Um,
So, but
you
you
pull
need
off a win, but I think it's expected to lose. I think we lose against the Jags. I
nah, you
think
win. You're gonna win that one.
I don't know,
Jaguars are
man.
terrible.
In Jacksonville
No, it's in
against
Philly.
Dougie P.
It's in Philly. That's a
He's right. I read it wrong. I read it wrong.
that's
I read
what
it
I'm
wrong.
saying. So your 2 musts are the 2 home games, and then you split the road ones. That's the way you gotta look at it. You go 3-1, and you're 5-3.
Yeah, realistically, the only loss can be Cincinnati. Should be Cincinnati.
Yeah, or the Giants. I mean, yeah, in terms of yeah. That's the recipe right there, to me at least. In the next 4, is you got to win the 2 home ones and you split the road.
I
If
don't know,
not,
dude. I just I don't know. I don't have much else to say. I feel like this podcast has been a little tough because I haven't given like anything super in depth, but like this game was just it was just bad. I don't really know what else to say. Um and the media is calling for Nick Sirianni because the media has to blame someone. And I get that. And if we don't
yeah,
make
but
it out of the first round, they're gonna fire him. That's just how it's gonna happen.
I
But
think I said this.
I don't agree with it. I still don't agree with it.
I think I said this last time too. I'm tired of all the first point to the like. At what point do you blame the players?
I agree. This team is
And
is a players run team.
well,
So how are we
first
not
off, there's
blaming
way
them?
too much talent on this team.
Absolutely.
Second of all, listen, I get it. You can pick and choose, right? As you said it before, there's 2 ways to everything, right? And I look at it as to me, the ultimate goal for these coaches are to put the players in spots to win, right? You look at stuff that's happened throughout the season, right? And I don't want to kind of argue about this again, but because we're on different sides about this. But that Falcons game, right? They put them in a spot to win that game. The players blew it. You look at
Yep.
yesterday, or not, yeah, yesterday, Sunday's game against the Buccaneers. Am I saying the scheme was perfect? Am I saying the pass rush, all the plays are perfect? No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying you had 18 missed tackles. You know what that tells me? That coach put those guys in position to make those
Where they
plays,
needed to be.
and they 18 tackles, 18. So let's just say you make half those tackles, right? You'll be talking a way different game.
Oh my god.
Because I don't have what downs those were, but I know 2 of them were on those third downs we already talked about that they converted. So you make one of them on those third downs, you're getting the ball back, and you're potentially making a 1 possession game. You look at the same thing, right? Your defense finally comes up big. You have a chance to make it a 1 possession game, and Hurts fumbles the ball on the 30-yard line when he's going to make a deep ball pass, and he turns it over. Again, that's another player's thing. They were in a position there to make up the play, and he committed that. So I'm more on the players than the coaches right now.
I 100% agree, dude. I like you know what? I'm glad we're on the same page because I feel better about myself knowing that like you because I I don't there's nothing else to say. I agree with you. I think the players are the ones making the mistakes. I Yes, Atlanta should have been a 1 and we should be sitting here at 3-1. And do you know how much better we would be if we were going in 3-1? Sure, that was an embarrassing loss, but we'd have that winning. We'd be tied with Commanders right now for the division, right? Like it would just be so much better sitting at 3-1 and Barkley dropped the ball. And you go into this game. The defense missed the tackle. It hurts. Hurts right now, man, and it's bad. I agree. I think it's the players, and like I said a bunch today, I just don't see it changing. Anything else on the Eagles before we get going?
No, I mean, I think there's not much to go on, to be honest.
No, I agree, and I'm excited for Red October, and I'm excited for the bye because I Eagles, look, it's not me, it's you, and I need a break. Thanks.
Well, think about it. Next Sunday, we got Phillies plus baseball instead of Eagles football.
Spicy meatball.
And I think we're probably, I mean, this is just guessing. Don't quote me on this, but because of the Dodgers playing that night too, my guess is the West Coast team will get the night game. So we'll probably be on a football time slot there too with the Phillies.
Oh, that sounds so nice. A Sunday afternoon baseball game. I'm so ready.
My guess is it'll be around 3. I guess, if I had to guess.
Man, all right. Well, speaking of which, we're gonna get going here in a bit, guys. But just wanted to say thank you everyone for listening. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. Like the video if you could. But more importantly, we are going to be posting this video on Friday. I forget the date, October 4th. Yep, Andrew, thank you. We're going to be posting this October 4th, which as of right now, which is, by the way, I want to give Andrew a shout out for wearing a Sixers hat for Media Day, even though we're not covering the Sixers at all. I appreciate it. And Andrew's a professional.
Some fun stuff that came out of Media Day today.
Really?
Yeah, there's some, I mean, just the team having fun.
Do we need to re-up to talk about it?
That's tough to explain. It's more fun to go watch. Just go watch
so the answer is no.
Yeah,
just Sixers the Keenum guy. But yeah, so as of right now, we don't know who the Phillies are playing. They're going to play either the Mets or Brewers officially. The wild card games will start tomorrow, October 1st. Pretty excited to watch those. We're going to try and give you like a mini podcast over the weekend. We'll see how it happens, but this will definitely be releasing on Friday before the postseason starts for the Phillies, technically. So thank you guys, everyone, for listening and watching. Make sure you follow and subscribe. And we're also sorry about the Eagles, by the way. We're sorry. Okay, we're sorry. We're Eagles fans. We're sorry. We're sorry. We're sorry. What? Andrew?
Go Birds.
No, ring the bell. Come on, get out of here. We're done.
We talked Eagles.
No, I don't care. Go!